Hi, everyone. My name is Miss Ray, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Harbor Cast. Today, we're going to be talking about a brand new event coming to Central New York that celebrates imagination, creativity, and the power of storytelling. CBSCS is launching an inaugural storytelling with Children Festival that's happening on May 17th at the Most Museum in Syracuse. This festival will feature interactive storytelling sessions, hands on activities with kids, and a special appearance by bestselling author Adam Gidwitz.
Gidwitz.
Gidwitz, perfect, thank you. And joining us today to be talking about this exciting event and how it's bringing more families together through literacy and creativity is Hanna. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Miss Ray, it's wonderful to be here.
Yes.
92.1 The Wolf.
Yes, we're happy to have you. Before we kind of dive in, can you kind of tell us about your work and your engagement with this festival that's coming up?
Everyone has a story that lit their imaginations on fire when they were kids. And whether or not you really connect what that story did for you to what happened in your school afterwards, or your career, or the books that you gravitated towards, the story itself is the motivation for kids to learn and grow and become lifelong learners. So, oral storytelling has a 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 year tradition of inspiring children, passing along knowledge. And when we focus only on literacy in terms of what books can do for kids, we miss this key component of early literacy, which is where art, stories, the tales that your parents, teachers, grandparents told you really set your imagination up for an appreciation of books and literature, even movies and songs. And it also inspires kids to want to be in the stories. It shows kids that they can be the storytellers themselves. So we created this festival to connect the wonderful talents of our local storytellers, Vanessa Johnson, Bruce Coville, Paul Solon, Perry Ground, as well as a conglomeration of deaf storytellers, will be taking kids through various cultural journeys of imagination the whole day at the most.
Mhm.
And then we connect them with literacy resources so that these stories that fire their imaginations lead them to beautiful outcomes in their education and in books.
Sure, I love that. And you mentioned that the festival focused on like art-based early literacy. Can you kind of dive into like the importance of that and what that means and why that's critical for young learners?
When I first started off in first grade, I went to a school that brought in a Greek folklorist, like somebody who knew Greek mythology during our lunch hour.
Mhm.
And so we were eating and relaxing, but she was telling us stories of Arachne and Zeus and Jason. And I went home every day excited to tell my parents these stories. And I'm sure that they got like, Jason, and there was a boat, and then there was water, and there were mermaids, and I'm sure it was not a coherent narrative,
Right.
but the pictures that were flashing in front of
Yeah.
my eyelids all day, the connections that were being forged. And then later when I was going through elementary school and read books that had characters based on these themes and these tropes, I was able to see them and make those connections. And I wouldn't have had that experience without this incredible storyteller who
Yeah.
really charged the atmosphere of imagination.
Mhm.
And what story? Tell me about your story. What story was it in when you were young that really got you first?
So, the first story I learned to read and the first story that really, like, really caught my eye was, I believe, The Little Hen. It was a story about a hen that made bread, and it smelled so good, and all these other animals wanted, and she was like, "No." no. No. And I don't now that I'm older, I can't even remember if she did end up sharing or if she didn't, but
God, that's a good
it
question. I don't
yeah.
remember either.
Yeah, but I just remember
I think
the
it turned
hard
into a
work.
morality play, so I
Yes.
don't think she
Yeah.
ended up sharing. I think it was
I think it
a
yes.
story of if you don't do the work, you don't get the bread, right?
Absolutely. But it also was just, like, the hard work and the way that she had to kind of overcome those obstacles to get where she wanted to go, and deal with adversity along the way and people saying things, which I think completely translates to real life. You're gonna work hard. People sometimes can make commentary about that, and it's like, I'm gonna still bake the bread.
Right.
Yeah. That
Well,
kind of analogy.
you do it for you do
Yeah.
it for your community, you do it because you like bread, or you wanna make your, family,
Mhm.
it was very tactile, right? Like, you saw her picking things and you eating the grinding the chaff from the wheat, and you saw her mixing and kneading the bread and then baking the
Yes.
bread, and it smelled really good, right? And
Mhm.
we all had that olfactory sense of
Yes, you
what
can
that was
almost
about.
smell it and, like,
Yeah,
imagine smelling something out of the window.
that's the
Yeah.
key to good storytelling, is it lets you live it, and
Mhm.
it also lets you retell parts of it. These stories are fundamental and they're foundational, right? And so you and I shared the Little Red Hen
Yeah.
as children. Imagine if we had the ability to hear more tales from cultures that we didn't grow up with, but that live in Syracuse side by side with us as neighbors. Um, we're really excited for our kids to who come to this festival to hear from the Onondaga storyteller from the Turtle
Mhm.
Clan, Perry Ground. I realized when I was an adult and a parent that I didn't know any detailed stories from
Mhm.
the Onondaga or the Haudenosaunee to pass on to my children or to engage with my children. And I grew up here my whole life. I think that that's a shame, you know?
Yeah.
So, one thing that we are looking to do with a full day of storytelling is get kids excited about learning. The second thing is to really share cultural memories and to build common ground between kids. And we do that by really shining a light on what we have here. We have phenomenal storytellers and
Mhm.
artists and illustrators and people who create stories every day that build a world that our children live in. I will also say we're bringing in Adam Gidwitz. So, Adam does something that lots of storytellers have worked to do.
Mhm.
Actually, we were talking about Wicked right before
Yeah.
this interview started.
Yeah.
Um, Wicked is one of those tales that borrows from a lot of different traditions, right? But one of the so Adam Gidwitz reinvents grim fairy tales. He
That's
ta
wonderful. That's very cool,
it
very cool.
it's really neat, right?
Yeah, there's another author, Chris Colfer.
Mm.
He was on Glee. He
Oh,
created The Land of Stories, also kind of does a twist on a more larger scale, but I love that.
oh, that's
There's a
very cool.
local one here.
Yes. Oh, he's
Well,
in New York
he
City, but he's
and
coming up to
still New York
Syracuse.
State.
Yeah, so Adam,
Very cool.
he has a podcast called Grim Grimmer Grimmest,
Mhm.
and in it, he and a live group of kids reinvent this story together. Because one of the things about grim fairy tales is that they're kinda gruesome,
Yes,
right?
they are.
They have some
Yeah.
awful things in it, and there's
Mhm.
constantly, like, women being married off without their consent and people dying in horrific ways, and you're like, "God, these are really not tales for kids,"
Mhm.
except historically, they have been. So the way that he overcomes that with the children is he asks them to react to things that are happening in the story. So, why do you think this guy just betrothed his daughter to that guy? And they're like, "Oh, this is always happening in fairy tales."
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Kids are spotting the patterns.
Yeah.
But then the other part is like if somebody dies in a gruesome way, Adam will say, "Okay, and then he died by being hung by his thumbs until he perished." He goes, "What does perished mean?" Perished means when you pass away, but how does that actually work? And the kids are like, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe the blood rushes to your knees or, you know,
Yeah.
kids, so he goes, I don't actually
So
know
it-
either, but
right.
let's just
Yeah.
pretend that that's what happened. The blood rushed to his knees and then he died being hung by his thumbs. And the kids are like, oh, okay, well, that's not as gruesome because, right?
They're having some
They're
creative freedom and
they
being able
created
to,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Another one, in The Wizard King, this terrible monarch plays a very fatal game of hide and seek with all these people. And the hero of our story um, wins, but he does it through being able to transform into things like hamsters.
Okay.
And the kids to decide what he transforms into, right?
Mhm.
So they get to play a role in building the story. And then the people who don't make it, they like die in terribly tragic ways. But again, Adam says to the kids, okay, so what's the worst way you could die? Which is a gruesome thing to ask children, right?
Yeah.
One would ordinarily
Yes.
not
Yeah.
ask children this. But then the kids say, oh, um, falling from a really long height, or all the way down, or drinking iron and having your insides like turn to mush, or your eyeballs fall out. So then Adam goes, okay, so this guy died by being pushed off a really tall tower and falling from a great height. And while he was saying, he improbably put iron and then his inside of mush, and then his eyeballs popped out. And by the time they get there, right, the kids are laughing because they've created death. But it's funny. It's not traumatizing. Kids are interacting with the story, and they're central to it. They are the storytellers.
Yeah.
So one of the main parts of this festival is giving kids as much over the story as possible. They're not supposed to sit quietly and listen.
Mhm.
They are part of the process of making all of these stories happen.
I love that. That is so wonderful. So kind of going back about Adam, if people were to look into him, kind of go on the
Oh, yeah.
podcast, can you kind of dive more into that experience and how that kind of may relate to other things that other authors are doing, whether it's, doing podcasts themselves to get connected with their audience with kiddos, or
Absolutely.
doing YouTubes, other things along those lines?
So the Grim Grimmer Grimmest podcast is available on a lot of different platforms, and there's free episodes as well as subscription ones. You can also find most of them available on YouTube as audio files. And storytelling is a difficult game, right?
Mhm.
So Adam is a published author. He wrote The Inquisitor's Tale, which I think is a Newbery Award winner. He also has a Netflix special called A Tale Dark and Grim. So you can kind of Hansel and Gretel leave their story and journey through other tales. It's quite engaging. And
Yeah.
then he's got a 3-book series about it too. So I think the storytelling really crosses the medium barrier.
Mhm.
So he's got audio tales where you have the children engaged in the storytelling mission. And then you have the video, which is the Netflix special. And then you've got books that he's written with these characters in mind in the same voice. Like he really has a very humorous, engaging ability with children that opens doors to these stories. I think a lot of other authors like Bruce Coville,
Mhm.
right, did the same thing. So Bruce Coville wrote numerous books. My Teacher is an Alien,
Mhm.
The Ghost in the Third Row is my personal favorite, Sarah's Unicorn, that reach children of all different ages and all different uh, in all different situations, and really let them live even through mean and horrible things. Like Sarah, her stepmom or her mom in that book is really nasty, not a good
Mhm.
person, who ends up reforming, like becoming a better person thanks to the unicorn. Um, but Bruce also started full cast audio, where audiobooks, before they really became
Mhm.
the hot commodity that they are
Yeah.
now, were the thing. So he did full cast audiobooks, and that was exciting that we have that in Syracuse. Um, we
Mhm.
also have so Vanessa Johnson is a griot. She's an African storyteller who talks about the Black experience in a variety of different um, present day as well as historical contexts. Possibly not the most child friendly story, but the Jerry Rescue, which is something that happened in Syracuse,
Mhm.
where abolitionists broke a man out of jail who was otherwise going to be sent back into enslavement, that is a wonderful, powerful story that we should be telling as adults or, understanding as children. Um, but we live through their experiences. She does that live, but she also, so this is a really great, it's a great way to see her in action at
Mhm.
this festival.
Yes, that's wonderful. Can we talk a little
Sure.
bit more about the festival itself?
Mhm.
What can families expect if they were to attend? What's the day kinda look like?
Yeah.
Things along those lines.
So the day starts at 9:30 with the opening of the most, and we are going to have a welcome event.
Mhm.
There's also going to be the option of buying tickets for a VIP Hello with Adam Gidwitz. We're gonna be making specialty stickers that are for the event, and kids can get their stickers signed by the different storytellers at the
Very
festival throughout the
cool.
day. Um, Adam is going to be there, and he's going to be recording a new Syracuse fairy tale, a new Grim Grimmer Grimmest podcast episode with the voices of
Oh
children
my
from Syracuse that
gosh.
day. And the festival itself, with all the different storytellers happening on the hour and the different arts, crafts, folk art, literacy, illustration workshops, different activity booths are going to be spread throughout the most, and those are happening throughout the day. So 9:30 till around 4 probably, we are going to have things for children of all different ages, between 3 and 12 generally, and that they're really, again, not going to sit and listen to, but be active participants with. We are also going to have a book signing with Adam Gidwitz at Parthenon Books
Mhm.
at 3 p.m. Oh, I should say, at the most, there's going to be a mac and cheese lunch.
Ooh.
It's for purchase, but, like, I think it's gonna be, like, $5 for a
Sure,
portion
yeah.
size, but so you don't have to run out and feed your
Get some
kid, like,
food.
we're gonna have some options there, for
Mhm.
kids to eat, during
Um,
the day. Yeah.
Kinda to
Sure.
interject, the Most is a phenomenal location. It
Oh,
is
yeah.
right downtown. I mean, if mac and cheese wasn't gonna cut it, there's a handful of restaurants around that you could go to,
That's right.
possibilities, things along those lines. What made this venue perfect? Like, what made you pick the Most out of another place? You could have gone to maybe the On Center or something like that and set a situation up. Why choose the Most?
No shade to any other place, but the most is the place that says children to me in Syracuse. Like, the most is set up so beautifully. It's
Mhm.
engaging, it's friendly, it's accessible. Kids of all different abilities can go there and be comfortable. The storytelling is going to happen in one of the quieter parts of the most, so your child will not be overwhelmed by other voices or running or but there will be other things for kids to do, constructing with foam blocks, for instance, while the storytellers are in action. So your child will be engaged on a couple of different levels. And at the same time, we're going to have partner organizations in the busier parts of the most that will
Mhm.
have busier things for kids to do. The most understands too. They've partnered with us on this, and they're phenomenal, phenomenal partners on all aspects of kids' education and exploration. They understand that imagination is the foundation point of curiosity, that
Mhm.
you can't be a scientist unless you really know how to read, but that you really know how to question. And their primary mission isn't literacy, but they can support organizations like ours and missions like ours, where we are trying to get kids as excited as possible, even before their first day of school.
Right. And the Most is a great location to kind of spark that ambition, with a variety of things, whether it's storytelling that can translate into adulthood and being like, I really like to read, I want to do this. I really like stories, I want to do this. And a variety
Yeah.
of things like that. So that's phenomenal.
And
And you
hands-on,
yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
again, stories are not passive activities. You live them, you breathe them, you recite them, you reenact them. These are storytelling is a really whole body experience, and the
Mhm.
most captures that too, and kids feel comfortable there. I think it's really important to have areas where parents and kids feel like they can just show up and be, and then be more open to the experience of learning something or doing something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, This festival also, correct me if I'm wrong, connects with other literacy programs
Yes.
such as Dolly Parton's Imagination Library and PJ Library.
Mhm.
Why is it important to kind of have these resources involved and work with them?
The Dolly Parton Imagination Library and the PJ Library, funded by the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, they are two, I think, of the most pivotal organizations in America because they understand that books and personal libraries for children are so powerful, right? Dolly Parton really heard that from her community that one of the major barriers to literacy was that kids didn't have books to read.
Accessibility, yeah.
Yeah, and then again, it's like a present that arrives in the mail
Mhm.
every month for your kid, and they're so excited by
We got
it.
them. I got them
Yeah,
growing up, and
aren't
I
they
was like,
wonderful?
"Yes!" I
Yes.
think we actually got magazines instead of
Mm.
books, um, just because we were more, like, hands-on kiddos. We wanted to fill the things out.
Oh, but that's
But, yeah,
fabulous. Yeah,
still, like, being able to have that and then translate into my adulthood and working in that communications field is pretty cool.
yeah. Well, it's speaking to that point too, right? So
Mhm.
you're in radio now.
Yeah.
Did you ever listen to radio plays as a kid?
Yeah, I remember being on the bus and listening to the radio and just hearing the people talk and thinking they were really cool. Um,
They are really cool.
they are.
They're
I
really
just
cool.
was like, these people's voices, I thought they were hilarious. I just loved to listen to them. And then, I kind of got to high school and I got involved in the news. So I was really into the media aspect of things, but I think that it rooted from things that I was exposed to at a younger age.
And I started with books on tape.
Mhm.
My parents, my extended family was in Pennsylvania, so we would take 5-hour-long road trips all the time to go visit them, and I remember listening to the Robin Hood series where I had, like, the graphic
Yeah.
novel in front of me, and then I was listening to the
Mhm.
narrative as I went through. They are Podcasts are kind of the newest iteration of that for a lot of kids, but even then, it's difficult to really connect. You really
Mhm.
have to find the thing that speaks to your kid or to your kids and that, grows them in the same way, and our parents grew up listening to actual radio plays on the radio.
Mhm.
There seems to be fewer opportunities for kids to really get this imagination, story, engagement before they get to read. And that's really where this festival fits in, is we're
Mhm.
trying to build that space. I would love to see us do radio plays on the radio where kids get to hear these fairy tales and tune in. Um, and I am hopeful that maybe we can build that partnership into the future here in
For
Syracuse because
sure,
I think that'd
yeah.
be really cool, right? A kid radio hour.
That'd be so cool.
Wouldn't that
I
be neat?
think yeah, for sure. I mean, it would allow kids to be able to be creative. It would provide a lot of things, I think. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
That might be the future of radio. We never know.
Maybe.
Maybe
No,
we
that'd be
gotta
good.
shake it up, do kids 1 hour.
And they're
Yes.
awake at 6 o'clock in the morning. We
Yeah.
just put that on, and then,
And I'm
parents
sure
can go
they
back
got
to
good
sleep.
stuff to talk about too. So, how do partnerships with local storytellers, artists, and cultural organizations help strengthen the literacy efforts here in Central New York?
So, the Literacy Coalition, the Reading League, um, Light a Candle for Literacy, there's, a pediatrician group that's reading to children, and focusing on books and engagement. Everybody sees Book Buddies is a phenomenal organization that's helping kids in schools, connect with reading. We have a lot of different, and then there's Pro Literacy Worldwide that's dealing with adult literacy, and,
Mhm.
we we have a lot of people working on the problem from different angles, and the problem is that we don't have 100% literacy, and we need to have 100% literacy. Literacy is really a gateway, to any kind of, phenomenal professional success, and it really holds people back when they don't have that, and regardless of whether they do, a skill or a trade or a career that doesn't involve a lot of reading,
Mhm.
it's still a barrier. So when we start with kids, when we try to focus on kids getting full fluency by grade 3, that's a really hard, it's a hard task and it takes a lot of different focused energy. So
Mhm.
Onondaga counties, read Read, Talk, Sing is phenomenal. Like, these are the things you should be doing with your kids every day to get them acclimated. We really intended this storytelling festival to be a new, exciting, arts-based event that collaborates, not competes with other agencies. We think that the work being done on literacy in Central New York is pivotal, and it's really well developed, and that there are wonderful collaborations in place. We wanna be a group that amplifies that and really helps, and the way we're doing it is trying to build this imagination part,
Mhm.
bringing that in so that then kids are interested in books, then kids are interested in the stories. So, we just wanna, and I will say too, this festival is not just open to kids in Syracuse, it's open to kids in throughout all of Central New York, and we would love to partner more with, Fort Drum and the Military Families Program.
Mhm.
We are hoping, hopefully, by the time this airs, we will have it locked in. We wanna do ASL interpretation for our storytellers, so
Mhm.
children who have different hearing abilities would be able to follow along
Yeah.
with the different stories that are being told.
Mhm.
Um, we wanna make this as accessible and broad as possible because imagination belongs to all kids.
For sure. And then I have one more
Sure,
question.
yeah.
So this is an inaugural festival. Do you see this becoming an annual tradition? Do you see this possibly happening again next year and the next year after that?
I would love that.
Yeah.
100%, I'd love to make this a series. I would love to make it a series where we bring in someone who makes a story with kids every year in addition to having storytellers come and cycle through. You will not believe how difficult it has been to keep the number of storytellers to just 1 an hour for the duration of this festival because we
Yeah.
have such incredible storytellers in our
Mhm.
community. Some of them are writers, some of them are published, some of them do this storytelling on a regular basis at festivals and for kids. I also believe that this is key to a placemaking. Again, if you grow up in a place and you don't share stories with each other, if you don't have stories that you tell about the place you grow up, it really, I think, takes away from the experience of having an identity that is rooted. And I want us to have rooted identity. I think that Syracuse is phenomenal, Central New York is
Mhm.
phenomenal, and we've done incredible things over the past several thousand years.
Yeah.
We should be
Yes.
talking about them and talking about the cultural traditions that now make up modern day Syracuse and Central New York.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Hannah. I really appreciate you coming in and talking with me. This sounds like a wonderful opportunity for families to come together, to spark imagination, and to celebrate the power of storytelling. Again, this festival is happening on May 17th at the Most Museum right here in Syracuse with special appearance from bestselling author Adam Gidwitz. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.
Hope you'll join us.
Okay, perfect.